Be oral by 2 questions on each person. Next, your lecture will be about origin of memory. So starting from next week, we start to study the language of the second. Don't forget about it. Controls is not repast. That's a who didn't come to control. Automatically receive the negative. Is it understandable?
Yes.
Do you have any questions? Ideas about the structures of your class, about your controls or something else?
Krenliens diagram. The Krenliens diagram, sir.
Krenlien diagram doesn't belong to the controls here. I will show now the diagram. I ask you, do you have problems connecting with what I tell you?
So notions will be like, it will be long answers or how it will be?
It will be answered, which is enough to explain what is asked to you. Not more and not less. You understand me? I don't need to listen about your childhood, for example. But if I will ask you about temporal regions and cutaneous fatty tissue, you must give me complete satisfying answer. Say, if you can do it shortly, I will be happy. If you will do it longly, anyhow, I will listen. What else? Now about Krenliens diagram. Now write the name of the topic and let's start to do it. Where is it? Several structures I must mention here. And first of all, the processes of your mandible. And zygomatic. I think it's enough to draw the Krenliens diagram. First line, it is the just border, yeah? Just border of head region. We call it sagittal line. It is connected to nausea, or with the kidney, so it's not necessary to be drawn. Next line, it is the horizontal lines. Horizontal lines. And the first horizontal line, we call auriculo-orbital line. And so it is connected the inferior margin of your orbit with upper margin of external acoustic nerves. Second, this is line number 1, inferior horizontal or auriculo-orbital line. Second line we call supraorbital line. It is parallel to the previous one, but from supraorbital margin. Something like this. Line number 2. Now we come to the vertical lines. First vertical line is from midpoint of the zygomatic arch, perpendicular to your parallel lines. Next one, it is from midpoint of the condylar process of the mandible, as you remember. And the last one we call the mastoid line from the posterior margin of the base of mastoid process. Number 2, number 3, number 1, number 2, number 3. That's all. Is it so critical hard for you, friend?
This means sagittal line, so how it goes?
Like a Christian person, I will do such kind of movement. How your sagittal line of head is called, friend? Really? Are you sure?
Oh, no.
No. Maybe in that case, yeah?
No, like
No,
this.
not in that case. Maybe in that case. So friends, it's so funny and stupid. Sagittal plane of human body divided human body into 2 equal parts, right and left. Even you have sagittal suture between your parietal bones. So why it should confuse you there? Sagittal line connected, as I said it before, your nasion with your ilium strongly in the sagittal plane. So, you know what is the problem, friends? I like my work. That is not hard for me to explain, but is it hard for you to try to understand it? I draw it, I show all the lines. You know what is the problem, dear? If I will take my passport, And in my passport will be written my name and surname. Will you need to come and ask me what is my... They say, you know, guys, let's to be adults. Yeah, let's not to be children. I like your questions, but I like the question which has some logical explanation. You read something and don't understand. But sorry, if I will open your slides, each line is named, each line place is mentioned, each point is mentioned. It's really confused. Yeah, how it's possible? If you want to work, you must to take the slide and read. If you don't want to work, doesn't matter how many times I will explain it. Believe me, result will be the same. So, guys, unfortunately, maybe you like the Hollywoodian films and you want to be like the actors in these films. Yeah, you make not the work, but you make the show. Because this is the real show. The teacher is spend a lot of time, draw the pictures, inserting the slides. That is my own pictures in the slide. The same picture as I do it now. And you make now show. Friends, we have the plan. Okay, I will explain. Will it give the result or not? That's another question. I'm not sure that it will be result. Because if the person wants to study, he will do the best to study. For example, previous group student come to me and say, sir, you promised that you can give us the books for individual. I say, yeah, I promise I can give. But sorry, do you make your research? Will you try to find something from your individual work? For me, it's not. And I say, look, now during 3 seconds, I will share these books for you. But sorry, that will not be your own work. That will be my work. If you will come and say me, sir, I spend a lot of time, I try to find, for example, I projected the artery, first cross point A, as you can see located in the crossing between first horizontal and first vertical lines. Point A show projection of the main trunk of middle meningeal artery. It's so hard to understand, yeah, if it is in slides is written. Okay, I will explain. Point B, it is located in cross point between first vertical and second horizontal lines. And it mentioned projection of anterior or frontal. No.
I'm so sorry, I wanted to
I
take
will
a
not
statement from...
No, you will not do it instead of my lesson. You can do it in break time, you can do it after the class, but I don't give you permission to do it in time of my lesson.
Sir, I went at break.
For me, it doesn't matter.
Sorry.
Your break is finished in exact time.
Sir, Liana ma'am was having...
Now you spend my time.
Sorry, sir.
Come sit down. Next time, if it will be continued, I will punish you very seriously.
Sorry, sir.
Now, point B, it is projection of anterior or frontal branch of the middle meningeal artery. And finally, point C, which is located in the cross point of the last vertical and second horizontal lines. That is projection of the posterior or parieto-occipital branch of middle meningeal artery. If I will connect it now, these lines to each other, you will see approximately the form of your middle meningeal artery and the place of its bifurcation. Except these projections, we can also project it the sulcus centralis for neurosurgical operations and sulcus lateralis, for example, to treat the strokes. Friend, that is not the uniform. What is necessary for that? One more point I must mention here. That is the cross point D. This is the cross point between posterior, our vertical and sagittal lines. Now what I'm doing, I connected to each other 2 points. Yeah, it is point B and point D. And this line BD, but not the whole line, only portion of it between the second and third vertical line, will project it our sulcus centralis. Lastly, what I will do, this angle between line BD and second horizontal line, by bisector, I will divide it into 2 equal parts. Something like BE. And it will be the silver rule. Is it so hard? I also think no, especially if everything is given. But enjoy it. No any problem. What's up? Really, I want to be really kind with you. Don't think that I'm afraid of the questions. No. But then you ask a question which is completely explained. I'm sure it is a little bit confusing. don't need because we completely described it before. I need the fifth one and the sixth one. Sixth one, it is your lectures. On 1 minute, I will open a fifth one also, which is the details. Before I start to explain you, again, I ask you if there are any problems with previously studied material. Feel you free to ask me the questions. Don't look in my reaction, don't worry. And guys, again I tell you, it is for you, because I confused that you are so clever persons, but you don't want to use the capacity of your brain. That is the problem. But please, if there are any questions, I will be happy to answer. If no questions, let's start right with the deep phase region. Hurry up, please, time is short. And first of all, let's remember what does it mean, deep phase, where is this deep phase, and what the importance of it. A minute attention to it. As you remember, last time we divided phase into the medial and lateral portions. And in the lateral portion, we described superficial and deep compartments.
Yeah.
How we make this division? Now look in this picture attentively and tell me please, what is absent here from the bones? All another bones in its place here except zygomatic arch. Oh, it's so hard, guys. Of course, the part of your mandible, it is the vertical process of your mandible. Let's say why it is removed in this picture, to show for you deep phase. So we can come to conclusion that deep and superficial phase split it from each other by these two bones and by muscle, which is located in the level of them and which is called the masseter. That's it. Inner surface of two bones, which we mentioned, zygomatic arch and vertical process of the mandible, together with inner surface of masseter muscle, splitted superficial lateral phase from deep lateral phase. Let's say superficially to these structures we have superficial lateral phase, deep to these structures we have deep lateral phase, which I think it's understandable. So if you are surgeon and if you want to make access to this region, yeah, you must resect these bones to open the region and to make some surgical, or endoscopically you must to come to this region avoiding. But anyhow, you will go behind the bone. Great. Now let's take this out and let's imagine where is it. It's so simple. I inserted my pen behind of the zygomatic arch, behind of the vertical process of the mandible, and my pen automatically goes into the Now my pen is inside of the deep phase region, and let's recognize the borders of this deep phase. Now look, from in front, my pen touched to two structures. It is the tuber maxilla, and it is the base of zygomatic arch, as you can see here. From behind, especially for you. From behind, if I will push the pen from in front to behind, something like this. Of course, it will touch to the parotid gland, which is located inside of the retromandibular fossa. Let's say anterior margin of the parotid gland will be bordered. Now let's look to upwards. I push my pen to up. And you can see I touch to infratemporal surface of greater wing of sphenoid bone. If I will look to down, I will see the oral cavity with its walls. So it is bordered from oral cavity. If I will look to inside medially, I will see the pterygoid process of the sphenoid bone. You see it or not? If I will look to laterally, I will see three mentioned structures, which I told you before. It is inner surface of zygomatic arch, vertical process, and masseter muscle. That's all. This is all borders of our deep phase region. Now, inside of this deep phase, we describe three connective tissue spaces. Now imagine that my window, it is the lateral wall, and my door, it is the medial wall, and my room, it is the deep phase. If it will be so. Heart between window and my chair will be the lateral pterygoid muscle. Window will be zygomatic arch and the lower and the vertical process of the mandible. Part of the deep phase, which is between lateral pterygoid and mentioned structures will be called temporal pterygoid space. You know why temporal? Why temporal? Everything is simple. Because just behind of your zygomatic arch past the tendon of temporal muscle and attached to the coronal process of your mandible. Let's say this space from one side will be bordered by mentioned bones and temporal muscle with a tendon, from another side with medial, with lateral pterygoid muscles. If you forget the place of lateral muscle, I can show. This is lateral pterygoid muscle, this is medial pterygoid muscle, and from superficially will be the tendon of the temporalis, which is attached to the coronal process of the mandible. The first loose connective tissue is temporal pterygoid. Now my chair again is lateral pterygoid and medial pterygoid. You can see that between them also there are space. It is called interpterygoid space. And finally, deepest part of my knee face, which will be medial to this muscle, will be called fossa pterygopallatina. Fossa pterygopallatina, it is the deepest portion of the knee. Very simple. Look at this. If I will insert it my pen maximally deep inside of the face, tip of it will go to the narrow fissura, which is located from one side between the maxilla, from another side the pterygoid process. This is exactly fossa pterygopallatina. That's like consequently from superficial to deep. We see three portions of the face. Temporal pterygoid, interpterygoid, and fossa pterygoid. Now we come to the technical question. Now we must, inside of each space, which I mentioned now, to describe some important structures. Nothing more. Let's start from first space. Now look at this. Exactly you see it. How we can prove that this is temporal pterygoid space? How we can prove that this is temporal pterygoid, not fossa pterygopallatina?
Because it is between.
You recognize here the lateral muscle. You are very prominent anatomist if you do it. Because it is just under the bones which are seen. It is just under the bones which are seen. As I said before, just under of two bones. This is zygomatic arch and the vertical process. We have the first portion. Let's say if the bones is removed here, I open the most superficial portion of the deep face. I think it's so logical. And what do you see inside of it? Veins. Of course, except the veins, we have fat. And of course, except the fat, we have liquid parts. Let's say this is three vein structures, which is located in temporal pterygoid space. It's so uninteresting to work with you, even because it is my last lesson, 8 hours today I spoke. And I will change this in all universities. I will change this method of the education. By the way, it is my mistake. That is my big mistake. Anyhow, university is not the school. Anyhow, university is not kindergarten. And if the material is given, students should study it, come and ask the questions. This method that the teacher should pronounce all sentences and all words of the text, it is awful. And you know, the worst is that it not resulted. This is not resulting. My experiences show that it doesn't give anything. Anyhow, let's continue. In fact, it's not funny. It is a really big problem. You know, it is mainly a problem connected with your future. If you will study in that case, in the future also, you will use only something ready and prepared. It's not necessary to give the fish for somebody. Yeah, you know what is necessary. To teach the fishing. You don't teach the fishing. You take the fish and eat it. Okay, today there are the person who give you this fish. I'm not sure that in the future you will find somebody. So you know, you're so passive, guys. Just one person comment that, can you tell me about crawling diagram? Nothing about clinical problems, nothing about some research, nothing about new investigation, nothing. You're so outside of the medicine, even you don't imagine. And here, teacher, it is just audiobook. Audiobook, we switch the voice, and he start to read what is written. That's stupid, guys. Okay, now look attentively into these venous structures. What is it? It is plexus venosus pterygoideus, pterygoid venous network. What the importance of it? It is structure which has two types of communications. One type is superficial, second type is deep. That's it. By one end, it is communicated with superficial beings of things. By another end, it is communicated with deep beings of the things. But I will talk about it in your class, if I don't mistake, or no? No? Okay. Now look, how the superficial communication is happening. This is the deep facial vein, which is connected with facial vein. By one side, by another side, with plexus venosus pterygoideus. That's how look. He is the facial vein. I am plexus venosus pterygoideus. If we will raise the hands to each other, it will be deep facial vein, which is main connection. Where is located this connection? In the lateral angle of your mouth, here. In old time, this triangle which you see is called trigonum mortis, the death triangle, because infections have possibility to pass inside. And not up to this plexus, but much more deeper into the cranial cavity, because, as I said you 2 minutes before, this network makes two types of communication. And I explained you just first type, superficial, but it has a second type, deep. Now look into these three structures, 1, 2, and 3. These first two structures which you see, it is the emissary veins of the oval and round apertures. That is the round aperture, this is the oval aperture. Oval aperture, friends. Yeah, new investigation for this need to be shown. You don't study any nothing. It's especially show it for you. Let's say inside of oval aperture, inside of round aperture, there are emissary veins. Look, from one side they connected with plexus, from another side they goes to the cranial cavity and drain into the sinus sigmoideus. Last communication, we call it inferior ophthalmic vein. By visceral ophthalmic vein, inferior, it is go to inside of the orbit, and then by visceral orbitalis superior, it is entering into the cranial cavity and drain into same sinus sigmoideus. Now, I think you imagine the situation. Let's take somebody from you, for example, you, in mid position, you will be the plexus venosus, she will be superficial vein, I will be intracranial vein. So you make communication of two sides. In one side with superficial veins, in another side with intracranial veins. What is physiology of this? Regulation of the pressures. You can regulate it, you can shunt the blood from inside to outside the vessels. By the way, this wide veins doesn't have any valves. As a venous flow is possible in both directions. What is pathophysiological meaning? Spreading of infection from superficial to deep. And why it will be happening? Usually, guys, venous blood, of course, flow by its normal way. What does it mean, normal way? From facial vein into common facial vein, which is draining into internal jugular vein. But can be but. What is the but? But it is the thrombus of these veins. If we will have inflammation of the vein, which is called phlebitis, it will give the complication which is called thrombophlebitis, and the venous flow by normal natural vein will be caused blocked. Let's say venous flow will go retrogradely using the anastomosis. And here you can see that anastomosis. You can see that why vein will be inflamed, why the thromb will be formed. Simply because it is also soft tissue. If it is located in the fat which is inflammatory, contact-agenius ladies infection can be spread to the whole of the vein. You know the infection inside of the human body, inside of human body, can be spread in different ways. For example, my congratulations, you wake up. What about this week? You know till now how many persons from previous class I removed from my lesson just because they didn't listen. You are happy, I'm sick and tired till your lesson, my energy is decreased. Let's say, I will not remove you, but my friend, what are you doing now for me? Can you tell me? Nothing, yes? What I am doing for you, I try to help you. I try to make your future a little bit more easy. Sorry, do you use it? If you don't use it, why you come here and use the oxygen of my room? Go at your business. Why I must, friends, forget this sorry. It is so stupid to do something bad and do that to say sorry. Much more better to not do it. Sorry. Okay, if I will sorry now in your head, something will be changed. Knowledge will be added. Explanation which I gave before and you didn't listen will become to you. If I will know that it will be so, I will sorry you. So once again, inside of the fatty tissue, we have a lot of vessels and veins also. I think you see many times enlarged veins in the lower extremity, which is called varicose disease.
Yes.
And you know that the main complication of it is phlebitis and thrombophlebitis, condition of the thrombus. How you can recognize that it's happened? Usually skin is changed the color. Usually it's tender, reddish, blue, something else. It shows some dystrophical processes, yeah? If there are thrombos, you see even the places of the not necrotization, but dystrophy. Dystrophy. That is the big problem, guys. And in case of the head region, we can have simply spreading of infection into the cranial head. As I told you many times, 3 mortal complications: meningitis, encephalitis, and thrombus of the sinus. Remember about it. That's why this is first compartment of our decrease. Now let's come to second compartment. Inside of second compartment, you can see here in this picture, for example, there are also vessels and nerves between 2 pterygoid muscles. Do you see yellow structures, red structures? Which vessels and which nerve? I know many times I show you this picture. Once again, I want to show that is external carotid artery inside of your carotid gland. And it is place of its bifurcation into 2 terminal branches. Many times by my 2 fingers I show you. Vertical one, it is temporalis superficialis, and this one is your name. Huh? Just now, what about this?
You spoke about the external carotid artery and it has bifurcation horizontal.
You see, it is that's a time to time I will ask you, what about this? Okay? They say don't sleep, please. It's a second one, it is arterial accident. By the way, if I will modulate it really, this maxillary artery, I will put my finger in this direction. It means from back to in front and from superficial. As I look now, that is the place of its origin, yes or no?
Yes.
Prove me that this is place of its origin. Or do you just say, if the teacher say, let's be greedy with the teacher and say, yeah, why not? You're a clever person, maybe you're right. Why I say that arteria maxillaris originated here? Why you believe me? Why? Where are you? Friend, Muhammad, yeah? Muhammad. Why, Muhammad? Why I told you that arteria maxillaris originated exactly here? And you believe and move your head by big amplitude. Huh? Friend Mohammed. Friend Mohammed, I'm not so good person. I can say for you false information. To say don't be agree with me just so simply. Much more better study your knowledge. In that case, it will not be necessary to be agree or not to be agree with me. You will have your own knowledge. Maybe you? Why I'm sure that arteria maxillaris originated here. And what I will now feel in the time of the work with you. Because I show for you fossa retro-mandibularis, where is located your carotid gland. And as we know, external carotid artery divided into two terminal branches inside of the parotid gland. So if parotid gland is here, it means on the origin of this arteria maxillaris will be also. Is it so critically hard to tell? Do you have ability to speak or not? Really? Time to time show it for us. You understand me or not? Now look to me. I put my pen strongly in direction which I showed for you before, from back to in front and from superficial to deep. So you can see that my pen passed behind of the mandible and come to the deep face. Do you agree with me or not? Yes or no? Now you can be agreed because you understand what I speak. Now look please. According to place of location of my pen, it will be divided into three portions. Portion number one located just behind of the condylar process of surgical neck, we call it, or the mandible. And we call it mandibular portion. Portion number two, the biggest portion, the blue part of my pen, rubber blue part. It will be between medial and lateral pterygoid muscles and will be called pterygoid portion. And finally, deepest portion, look please here, will be inserted inside of fossa pterygopalatine and will be called pterygopalatine portion. You see it or not?
Yes.
Yeah. As I remember, please, on my head it means maxillary artery. Inside of this deep face, split it into three portions. One just behind of the mandible, it is mandibular. Second one between two pterygoids. The last one inside of fossa pterygoid. That's all. What is now our business to describe all the branches for each portion which I tell you. Now look this way. Friends, I don't suggest it, but you think that your written text will be better than this written text? Or you think that this information which I tell you now is not given in your slides? Everything is given. Much more better to listen me and to understand what I speak. Now write, please. Portion number one gives the 5 branches. Portion number 2 gives the 5 branches. Portion number 3 gives the 4 branches. Is it understandable? 5, 5, 4. Now let's start from first 5. Look, that is the mandible. That is the portion which is located behind of the mandible. Yes or no? That is the pterygoid muscle. This is the portion according to the pterygoid muscle. That is the fossa pterygopalatina, and this is the portion according to fossa pterygoid. Let's start from first portion. In the first portion, you can find 4 ascending and 1 descending branches. Good. 1, 2, 3, 4, and only 1 descending. Let's describe these structures. Let's start from the biggest artery, which is descending, which you can see here, and which is called inferior alveolar artery. Arteria alveolaris. 100 times we spoke about it, and I described for you the buccal region. And I told you that this is the branch of arteria maxillaris. I told you that it descended to down and entered inside of this aperture. You see the screen inside of this aperture. This is foramen mandibularis, mandibular aperture. It is entrance of mandibular canal. Exit of mandibular canal, it is foramen mentalis. Between entrance and exit, we have canalis mandibularis. Inside of canalis mandibularis, we have inferior alveolar vessels, and a little after I will add also inferior alveolar nerve. So generally we have inferior alveolar neurovascular band. Artery, vein, and all have the same name. By the way. But what artery? Artery supply all inferior tools. Then it comes to outside by foramen mentalis. Here we remain. As you remember, we call it mental artery. And this is one from 5 arteries, as you remember, which make anastomosis with facial one in the face region. Now let's come to the ascending arteries. Attract your attention into the biggest ascending artery, which is short. This is middle meningeal artery. Just for your friends, 2 minutes before, I draw the krenlien diagram, which is showing the projection of middle meningeal artery. What is happening with it? It goes to the roof of our space, which is the sphenoid bone, which contains 3 apertures, from laterally and behind spinals. Middle one, it is oval, and medial one, anterior one, it is round. Strongly by spinous aperture, it is a rise to the cranial cavity. Inside of the cranial cavity, inside of the bone, it is located in the same name canal. Then the canal is continued to the groove. And if you look, this groove divided into 2 branches. You see?
Yes.
You see? No? I will come to you, friend. You see? Now look. Because it's hard for you to little bit move to me. I will come to you. You have much more work than me till now, yeah? You have 10 hours lecture. I have only 8. So for you it's much more harder. Let's say why the 2 groups, guys? Because 2 branches of middle meningeal artery, which were projected minute before, yeah? Frontal one, which is go to the frontal portion. And parietal septal one, which is go to parietal septal. So remember, please, another ascending arteries. Little bit in front to middle meningeal, you have accessory meningeal artery. By the way, not all humanity have it. Approximately 20-30%. But you can see that it is in front of the middle meningeal. That's why it goes not by spinous, but by oval aperture. Because in front of our spinous aperture, the oval aperture. But again, it is come to the cranium, and again it is supplied the meninx of the brain. It is supplied the meninx of the brain, like the previous one also. Now look in these 2 posterior ascending arteries. One we call deep auricular, second we call anterior tympanic. Both is again by the apertures, which is located in pyramidal parts, yeah, for the tympanic apertures. Goes inside of the middle ear, and both is supplied the middle ear. Muscles, ossicles, mucous membrane, everything which is located inside of it. That's all 5 branches just now I showed you. Now let's come to the second portion. In the second portion, it's very simple to remember the branches. You know why? Because all these branches is muscular. And from 5 branches, first 4 will go to your masticatory muscles. That is temporalis profundus artery, which is go to temporal, masseteric artery, which is go to masseter, medial and lateral pterygoid arteries, which is consequently go to medial and lateral pterygoid muscles. But what is the 5th one? 5th one also is muscular, but it goes to the mimetical impression of muscle, which is your buccal muscle. Again, last time that we discussed the face region, I mentioned it also. So you can see 5 muscular arteries. 4 is to masticatory, 1 is to vaccinate the muscle. Let's continue. Now let's come to